Let's get this shit started.
This is the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Nick Anderson.
What is up, Dynasty Degenerates? This is your host, Nick Anderson, with the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast, or as you all know it, the Triple DFFP. And guys, we're just going to be doing a quick hitter episode today, a shorter one. I'm trying to get acclimated to my new system, okay? I've spent a little bit of time off. I got a brand new computer. I got a brand new setup, everything. So we're trying to make sure that all of the drivers, all that shit works, and that it's recording the way that it needs to be. So buckle in. We're going to be talking about the Tennessee Titans offense today. And we haven't gotten to talk about Derrick Henry's new signing yet, you know? He signed a 4-year, $50 million contract with the Tennessee Titans, securing him through, I think it's the 2024 season. And this is just great news for the guy, man. I mean, it couldn't have come to a guy that deserved it more, a guy that kind of sat in the wings, you know, waiting behind DeMarco Murray at the start of his season, never actually had the production that we were anticipating for him, and then he broke out on the scene, and he hasn't missed a beat since. I mean, the guy had 303 carries last season, which is just crazy for the new-aged NFL. I mean, he is the definition of a workhorse, at like 6'2", 6'3", 250 pounds. He is just an absolute bruiser. You know, he's jumping up through the ranks now because we still have these other players, these guys that are going to be 2021 free agents. We're looking at the Dalvin Cooks, the Joe Mixons, the Alvin Kamaras, and Derrick Henry was listed amongst those guys, and he's the first domino to drop in these contract negotiations. So he now has, a surety in the future of his NFL career. So he is naturally jumping people in my dynasty rankings. I haven't gotten him written in stone yet, but I can tell you that he's going to be sitting around my running back 6 in my dynasty rankings. And, redraft's going to be the same. But yeah, dynasty, he's going to be sitting right there around my running back 6 when he was a lot lower than that coming into this season. Derrick Henry, as you guys know, doesn't really offer much in the passing game, so he drops down once you get into full point PPR and even a little bit in half point from standard, but who the fuck plays standard anymore? But Derrick Henry getting that contract, great for him, great for his dynasty value, and great for owners on that. The other people that it is going to be great for, though, is it's going to be great for the Tennessee Titans passing attack. So if you guys are looking for any of the statistical breakdowns or anything like that I don't cover in this, I wrote an article on this for the Dynasty Nerds. So you can find it at dynastynerds.com. All you have to search is Titans Fantasy Forecast, or just search my name on there, Nick Anderson. You can find all of my articles on there. I read a bunch of pieces for them. But so if you're missing any of the stats or you want a refresher on all of them, go to that article. But so Derrick Henry's re-signing in Tennessee is going to be great for their passing attack. And it seems like a contrarian statement, okay? That was my air sprayer, my scent sprayer, so don't worry about that little in the background. But yeah, so I was on the other side of the fence about this just a month ago. Talking about the Titans air attack, A.J. Brown was getting all of this hype. He was the Twitter darling, all of this stuff. And I was just getting a little bit nauseated with the hype that was surrounding this kid. And then I dove into the Titans offense. And then I saw how Derrick Henry and the play action predicated the success that their rookie sensation, who had just historic efficiency numbers, was able to produce based off of, Derrick Henry's success in the run game and Ryan Tannehill's efficiency in the passing game. And I started to come around. The wheels started turning. And now I'm all in on A.J. Brown. Okay, I'm about this kid. I'm about his talent. I'm about the system that he's in. And here's the deal. I understand that with a 303 rusher in the game, he's not going to get just absolutely blasted with targets every single game. But I don't think that these efficiency standards are a mirage. I do think that he's going to have a regression in 2020. Don't get me wrong on that. I don't think that he can keep up a 20.2 yards per reception, the numbers that he had in yards after catch, all of those things. But I also think that the 52 receptions that he got last year are going to vastly increase this season. There's 66 targets available in the offense coming out off of last season with the departure of Tajay Sharp and Delanie Walker. And I think that those are going to be distributed evenly between, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, and A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown being the paramount of all of them because he's the X factor. He's the winner in the passing game. But so I think that A.J. Brown is going to have an even better season than his rookie outing. I believe that he's going to get more targets than he did. He had a 61% catch rate last season, put up 52 receptions. I think that he's going to be up around 110 targets this season, which is going to show him a significant increase in the passing game. And with that increase, I think it's going to account for the reduction in efficiency that he had last season. I mean, he's not going to be able to do everything that he did last year, but I think that it's all going to be accounted for. But he had 20.2 yards per reception, which was third in the league. He had 12.5 yards per target, which is second in the league. 9 total touchdowns for a receiver, third in the league. Also, he was number 2 in yards after catch. All of these things just show how great this guy is. And the craziest thing about his yards per catch is that he put up these insane yards after catch numbers. And you would think that those would be in correlation with a low ADOT. You'd think that his average depth of target would be predicated off of like screens and crossing routes, but he had like a 13.5 or something ADOT, which shows that not only was he getting deeper balls and getting catches off of those balls, but he was also making the yards after catch, showing his ability after the catch. It's not like they were setting him up in a situation to be able to ball out. He was balling out on his own while getting a large ADOT. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for this kid. Do not be fading him. It's all gas, no brakes. I think that, honestly, he's working his way up into my top 12 dynasty wide receiver category. I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't have my ranking solidified yet. There's been a lot of working parts going on with everything right now, with the holdouts, the people are not holdouts, but the people that are opting out. And then we're talking about new contract negotiations, all of these things. And then I start to do more research and I start to get a little bit more educated on some of these guys that I might have been fading a little bit. A.J. Brown's one of those ones that's moving up through my ranks. And another reason why I think that A.J. Brown's going to be so good this season is because of the complimentary staff that he has around him. I know that Corey Davis isn't a sexy name in fantasy football right now. I get it, okay? I 100% understand that Corey Davis is not the guy that everybody wants to be having on their roster. But, man, he has started to show himself as a viable weapon in the passing game. And now I'm not saying that Corey Davis is going to be the all-star that we drafted him as in the first round back in his draft class, but I think that he is going to be serviceable, and he also makes teams respect him. He had one of the biggest cushions in the NFL for people accounting for his route running. And so he's also increased his catch rate every single season since he's been in the NFL. It went from 52 to 58%, then to 62.3%, a higher catch rate than A.J. Brown had his rookie season. He put up 43 receptions for 601 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. And with the availability of those 66 targets that I was talking about in the Titans offense, I foresee Corey Davis being a low-end wide receiver 3, high-end flex option in your roster. I think that he's going to hit somewhere around 800 yards this season, handful of touchdowns, and I think that he's going to be serviceable in a couple games. And if you do see A.J. Brown go down, I'm not saying that Corey Davis is going to jump up to like a wide receiver 2, but I mean, he could be a high-end wide receiver 3. He could be a valuable piece of your offense. And the other thing that he's increased every single season is his offensive share metric. This is actually a stat that I've recently been turned on to, and it's basically showing wide receivers' skills or ability and production that he produces on his own, independent from his surroundings. So the yards after catch, all that stuff, the things that he does on his own that aren't done by his teammates, that's what the offensive share metric is. And he has increased it every single season into this third year that he had. And I think that it's going to continue to increase into his 4th season. I know that they did not express their 5th year option on Corey Davis. So I don't necessarily think that he's going to be a Tennessee Titan after 2020, but if he can continue to show this production, I think he could be valuable anywhere else that he goes. And he will also still in 2020 prove that he can pull coverage away from A.J. Brown when it's needed and leave A.J. Brown to ball out like he did last season. So let's move on to the other air attack weapon that they have over in Tennessee, and that is highly hyped tight end Jonnu Smith. Now, everybody is getting on the Jonnu train right now. I mean, it is rolling down the track, and it is going fast and furious. But I'm here to tell you, we might need to pump the brakes on this a little bit, okay? I mean, Jonnu was given the reins to the starting tight end position after the week 6 injury of Delanie Walker. I mean, he stepped right in, and he's still, his 16-game pace was 46 receptions, 549 yards, and 5 touchdowns, which just isn't all that great, But Jonnu, he did the crazy thing about this Titans offense is that they're all just so hyper efficient. I mean, he had the 4th best catch rate of his peers at 78.8%. He also had It was like the second or third most yards after catch per route among starting tight ends. If it wasn't the first, I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, Jonnu has a lot of efficiency. He's got the body to be able to succeed. He's got the athleticism to be able to succeed, and he's got the system to be able to succeed. But this isn't the Tennessee Titans offense that gifted Darren Waller with, sorry, not Darren Waller, Delanie Walker with 100 targets a season. That's not going to happen again. A.J. Brown is in town. They have Mike Vrabel, who's going to run the rock up the gut 303 times in a season, and also got Corey Davis on this team. He's not going to get the kind of target share that you want your number one tight end to get, but I do think that he's going to be able to produce something around, what are my projections for him? I think he's going to get something around 75 targets, okay, 650 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns, which would have seeded him as tight end 8 last season in 2019. But 2020 is going to be a different beast, man. 2020 tight end landscape is crazy. Like I can't even predict exactly how it's all going to fall. I can make projections, I can make rankings, I can do all of those things. But I would not be surprised if there's about like 7 tight ends that could all fluctuate. We're expecting a year 2 breakout by Irv Smith, by TJ Hawkinson, by Noah Fant. And then we're also looking at Hayden Hurst going to Atlanta. So we're expecting a big pop out of him. We don't know what's going on with Austin Hooper out at the Browns. I mean, there are so many working parts going into this thing that you don't know. I mean, Blake Jarwin's scheduled for a breakout. Dallas Goedert is still stepping it up as the 1B to Zach Ertz's 1A. The tight end landscape is crazy, but the one thing that I do know about the tight end landscape is that Jonnu Smith, of almost all the guys that I listed, I think still all of the guys that I listed except for Blake Jarwin, he has the lowest ADP. So if you're just punting the position and you're waiting until one of those later round tight ends, then Jonnu's a great target. Like I said, 650 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, stuff like that. Would have seeded him as tight end 8 last season. Who knows where it's going to position him at the end of 2020, but it's a great buy for where he's going at in drafts for you in redraft and in dynasty, because you never know what's going to happen with Corey Davis being gone in 2021. You never know if Jonnu was going to end up getting that huge target share that we wanted him to get, that Delanie Walker got. And especially with the new offensive coordinator being the former tight end coach and Mike Vrabel taking over the coaching job of the defensive coordinator after Pease left, we might be seeing a little bit more of a focal point on the tight end. Who knows? If that happens, that's great, and it works in Jonnu's favor, and conversely works in A.J. Brown's favor, because if they're peppering somebody else, it's going to leave him open. They got to respect one or the other, and A.J. Brown's going to be the one that's going to eat off of all of that. And so all of this success that I'm talking about right now, the success of A.J. Brown, the minor success of Corey Davis, the success of Jonnu Smith being, a possible breakout tight end in terms of what he's shown in the past, and then the incredible success of Derrick Henry, all of those things right there lead me to think that Ryan Tannehill was not an aberration last season. Okay. He had the 9th most fantasy points per game come season's end. I mean, the guy's efficiency standards were off the freaking charts last season, and I don't think that it's going away. He threw 286 times for 2,742 yards and 22 touchdowns. He only threw 6 interceptions, which is a 2.1% interception rate, and he had the highest quarterback rating of his career at 117.5, which was only beat by Drew Brees. Okay, Drew Brees is the only one that was more efficient than him in 2019. And from all the stuff that we talked about with the yards after catch, with the play action pass, creating lanes for the receivers, I think that Tannehill is going to be he's going to have another great season in efficiency standards and fantasy standards. I have him right now slated out for, I think it's going to be somewhere around 450 attempts is the absolute basement of what he's going to throw. I think that we could see that get up to around 475, but I'm estimating 450 right now. I'm estimating 4,050 passing yards and an inevitable regression in his hyper efficient 2019 touchdown percentage. So he'll be around 30 touchdowns. But right there, we're talking about 450 attempts, 4,050 yards, and 30 touchdowns. We're talking about a top 10 quarterback right there. Top 12, 10 quarterback right there, a quarterback 1. And you're buying Tannehill in dynasty drafts as the QB 21. I have put myself out there. I've put myself out there for the public. I bought Ryan Tannehill in my 2QB league. So I am actually gonna practice what I preach because I believe so strongly that Tannehill can be a solid quarterback one moving forward. If you go look back at his time before his injury, before Gase, and with just subpar weapons in Miami, he had almost 4,000 seasons. He was he was number 10 in passing yards all time in his first 4 seasons in the NFL, and top 5 or something like that in interception rate. The guy is hyper efficient. He's skilled. He also has wheels a little bit. He put up something like 4 touchdowns last year on the ground, which I don't see that going away because, again, they have to respect the play action. And if they respect the play action, it gives Tannehill the ability to scramble. So I am shipping Tannehill right now as a quarterback one, okay? Put it in the books, mark it down. Bobby Sylvester's got my back on that. I saw his article about it in his odds for who's going to be MVP this season, and just talking about everything, all the pieces that are going to succeed in Tennessee. I think that Tannehill will have to succeed, and I think that he will. So A.J. Brown, top 12 wide receiver in Dynasty in my rankings. Derrick Henry, we're looking at a possibly top 6 running back. Jonnu, I don't know where he's fallen in my ranks right now, but I think that he has the ability to finish as a tight end 1. And then we've got Ryan Tannehill, who I'm locking in as a quarterback 1. A hyper-efficient offense. The only thing that's going to affect all of this is the loss of Conklin, okay? But they draft a guy who I think can fit right in, and I don't think that they're going to miss a step because you just have to respect Derrick Henry. So all of these guys, everything that they've got going for them, the hyper-efficiency, everything, the way that this offense moves and the offensive mind of or not the offensive mind, but the coaching mind of Mike Vrabel, I think is all gas, no brakes. Titans are one of my most exciting teams moving into the 2020 season, fantasy-wise. They won't be able to make it past my Chiefs at the Super Bowl, but they're a great team, and I love them. I love the prospect for them, and those are my takes. I hope you like them, but if not, I'm actually not drunk right now. I'm just testing this out, but listen to me anyway. Later.